Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new around here, my name is Lydia Millen and I have been on the internet for 10 years. Just let that hang in the air. Oh my gosh, I feel so old. But it had me reflecting on some of my earlier videos. I've actually spent the last few years mainly vlogging my life, and over the last sort of year and a half I have gone through so much self-development and self-improvement that I really kind of wanted to take the epicenter of my channel, which is living a really good life and surrounding yourself with loveliness and beautifulness, and put it in content that's kind of easier to be digested by you guys if you're looking to do the same kind of thing. I'm really passionate about self-development. I'm really passionate about living a good life and making sure that my life is always filled with loveliness and elevating everything around me and inside of me. And elevate is such a wonderful word. Oh my goodness. Like, first of all, I love the way that it sounds. Second of all, I love the fact that it can be applied to literally everything. You can elevate your thought processes, you can elevate your home, you can elevate your style, you can elevate your life. And that is what I want to do with these videos. I want to put together my top advice and tips and everything in between so that you can use this as a reference point if you are passionate about these things too. If you aren't passionate about these things, which some of you may not be, and I completely respect that, let's just try to keep the comments respectful, because I don't want this to be disruptive for the people that do enjoy this kind of thing. You don't want to be that kid that stands up in class and disrupts the entire classroom for everyone else. So try to keep it respectful, and if this isn't for you, just click on to something else. There is no reason for you to be triggered by this content. You can just move on. Which brings me on to the first point in my elevated life. There's been a number of things that I have done over the last nearly 2 years that have really elevated my world and my life and my living to a space that is really wonderful. And I want to share those with you. And number one is, which I think is really good, a good place to start, stop being so triggered by everything. And I say this to myself because I used to be so triggered. Like, I was literally triggered by people driving badly on the road, triggered by things that people would say to me, triggered by other people's behavior, and quite honestly, it was exhausting. I did not want to live my life like that anymore, and something had to change. And that something was me. Because being triggered, for the most part, I know that there are bigger things in the world that sometimes, you know, you just can't help. But in my opinion, being triggered is a choice. It's a choice that you make, and usually it's a choice that you make without stopping to think. And so what I had to do was I really had to slow down my thinking process in order to be able to change that and change the fact that I was so triggered. So now, before I react to absolutely anything, and I'm not perfect at this, but I do my absolute best. Before I react to anything, I ask myself 2 questions. If I react in this way, is it going to make the situation better? And if I react to this, is it going to change the situation? If both of those answers are no, I move on with my life. I move on with my life and I remain in a really calm space. Instead of constantly being triggered into adrenal fatigue, I just continue on this wave of calmness instead. Can I change the situation? And does my reaction make it any better? If it's no, I don't react. So for example, the other day I was driving to my acupuncture appointment and I was driving down the lanes where I live, and someone in, and I'm gonna say what the car is because it was such a distinctive car, I hope he's watching. But someone in an orange Ferrari or Lamborghini was driving like an utter idiot, and it scared the life out of me. And I was instantly like wanting to just, and I stopped myself. In that moment, I stopped myself. As much as I know that that person's driving could have consequences, me reacting and upsetting myself is not going to change anything. I hope he gets caught by the police and I hope that he changes his ways. But my reaction was only going to disturb me. It was only going to disturb my own peace, and it was only going to ruin my day if I let it. So I shrugged it off. It was a great reminder for me that my responses and my alertness when I'm driving is so, so important. A great lesson for me, and that was the positive that I could take from that. I didn't allow myself to be triggered into anger, aggression, and annoyance, because the only person that was going to disrupt was myself. This can be applied to absolutely everything in your life. When you're watching content on the internet, when you're consuming content on the internet, when you're shopping and somebody does something really annoying, when someone speaks to you in a way that you don't like, you do not have to be triggered and upset and make a choice to be annoyed by something. You can sit back and understand that you have no control over how anybody else reacts to anything. All you have control over is your own reactions and emotions, and that is a choice. And so now, every day, I make the choice, as much as I possibly can. I'm not flawless at this, but as much as I possibly can, I make the choice to be calm and to not be triggered and to live a really lovely life. Let me know if you are ever triggered by things. Let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to have a discussion about how you cope with your triggeredness and how maybe you've overcome those things. Number 2 is my favorite, and you might know this about me if you watch my vlogs, but never stop learning. When I was at school, I did not think that learning was cool, and if I could go back and change that, maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe that this is what it was always supposed to be like, and I was supposed to love learning later on in life when I had a newfound appreciation for it. But I never stop learning, whether that's listening to podcasts, reading books, or my newfound love, Skillshare. This little section of the video is sponsored by Skillshare, and I am so excited to bring this to you because I think that so many of you are going to love this as well. Skillshare is an online learning community which is basically for creative people and curious people, which I think I kind of fall under the curious and creative people. There are thousands and thousands of classes around business development, self-development, all of the things that I absolutely love. And they're shared by so many different people. Someone that I'm watching at the moment is actually a YouTuber like me, and I am in love with his course that I'm watching at the moment. His name is Thomas Frank, and he's a YouTuber, and the one that I'm watching at the moment is Real Productivity: How to Build Habits That Last. And if you have followed me for a while, you'll know that I'm really, really passionate about this, because I love building habits, building routines, and being productive. And one of the things that really attracted me to this course was there's a section about not being perfect, because I am someone that always puts myself in a position where I feel like I need to be perfect at something. And if I'm not perfect, then I just throw in the towel. And so I'm really learning to make peace with my imperfectness, and this particular section of this course was just brilliant. And I love the fact that I can learn about absolutely anything and continually work on myself and improve and grow. It's an online learning community that is curated specifically for learning, so there's no ads, and I know that so many of you are annoyed by ads, and there are a lot of ads on my channel, so you'll be pleased to know there's no ads. It really doesn't matter if you are a newbie to a subject or whether you're already a pro, there's always something to learn. There's always new classes and new premium classes, and there's also a real sense of community where you can connect with teachers and other people as well that use the platform that are maybe interested in the same things as you are. I'm going to link the course that I'm taking in the description box down below, and some other ones that I'm really, really looking forward to getting my teeth stuck into, and I'm just really excited to be able to add this to my sort of plethora of areas where I continue learning, because I love podcasts and I love self-development podcasts. I love Audible, where I listen to books that help me learn more. I love actual books, but they're usually more of my like escapism books. And this is just another string to my bow that I absolutely love. And I know that so many of you are like me in this. You never want to stop learning. And so I think that this is a really, really exciting platform. And you will be pleased to know that the first 1,000 of my subscribers that head over there and sign up will get 1 month free. So it gives you an opportunity to get a feel for the platform, find the courses that you like, really get to grips with it, and hopefully become as passionate about it as I am, because I love, love, love learning. So I'll leave the link in the description box down below. That's the first 1,000 of my audience can check it out down there. I'm also going to pop together a blog post of my favorite podcasts, my favorite audiobooks, my favorite Skillshare classes, and my favorite books to read, just so that if you are interested in learning more as well, then you can do so via that blog post, because I think just having these places where you know that you can go and hit up to learn a little bit more, or great platforms to use, will be really, really beneficial. Number 3 is emotional maturity, and I was 33 years old when I learned what emotional maturity actually was. And I have ever since that point really focused on that. Being able to take ownership over my emotions, and also being able to understand my feelings, understand my responses to things, has been something that I continuously work on and learn about. It's kind of like going to the gym, but for your mind. And that is where I enlist quite a lot of different resources and people to help me do that. I now put my emotional maturity and my health in terms of my mind at as much of a forefront as I did like going to the gym. There's no worth in just looking good and feeling like crap. So whether that's therapy to help me understand things that have happened in the past and to help me go through them and dissect them. I've been in therapy for, gosh, I would say 6 years. I mean, you have to be when you're on the internet because it's very, very important. But that was my first step in my emotional maturity journey. Then I've had life coaches who have absolutely changed my abilities and have been one of the best investments in myself that I've ever taken. I also do lots of other things in order to help me with my mental health, and that's really more of like a self-care side of things, whereas I have acupuncture and reflexology and regular massages just to like unwind and de-stress. But for the most part, it's all about focusing on my emotions and making sure that up here is as healthy as out here. And I think that that is something that isn't stressed enough. And quite honestly, this is not something that anybody needs to be embarrassed about. In fact, the most successful people in the world are always investing in their thought processes, their emotions, their mental health, and their emotional maturity. And I think that this is something that is just good practice, it's good self-care, and it's just good for living a good life. Next up is living apologetically, which is another thing that I think this is probably in the last month that living apologetically has really, I've kind of understood the meaning surrounding it. And I think that so many of us, especially women, have not lived unapologetically for a very, very long time. And that is something that I want to make sure changes right now. I've always been apologetic for my success. I've always been apologetic for my personality. I've always been apologetic for the way that I think and the way that I live and the way that I am. And I now wake up every day and I remind myself that today we're going to live unapologetically. We're not going to be sorry for who we are. We're not going to be sorry for what we've achieved. We're going to be so proud every single moment of what we've achieved and of who we are. And if anybody takes an issue with that, the problem is not ours. I've spent a lot of my time on the internet feeling incredibly guilty for a lot of the things in my life. And that is something that I have recently worked towards changing. I initially thought that I needed to speak to my life coach about it, and I initially thought that I needed to speak to somebody else about it, and then I realized that this was just something that I needed to do on my own. And every morning I remind myself that today we're living a life that is unapologetic, and it just sets my mind back into that mode. We're not sorry for who we are, we're not sorry for what we've achieved, and we get on with our day. I have definitely lived my life apologizing so much in the past, and now every day I wake up and I remind myself that today, Lydia, we are living our life unapologetic. You're not sorry for who you are, and you're not sorry for what you've achieved. And honestly, just that little moment of reminding myself of that every morning is absolutely integral to how my day goes. Today is exactly one of those days. I woke up and I wasn't sorry, and it is such an empowering feeling to remind yourself that you have nothing to be sorry about. You have nothing to feel that you need to minimize yourself for and apologize for. All of your power is within you, and now is the time to stop apologizing. Next up is cultivating your inner circle. And this is something that I realized that I do more and more. And it was funny, we were talking about it with friends recently, and one of them said to me, they're like, Lydia, I feel like you're the type of person that, like, once you're just like, you realize that someone is not for you, you just cut them. And I'm like, yeah, actually, that's a really good observation. I have spent a good part of my life making sure that the people around me are quality people and not quantity. For me, it's really important that the people that I'm surrounded by enrich my life as much as I enrich theirs. And I think that I have just really nailed this one. There are always red flags that people will show you about who they are, and your gut is such an important factor in that. And finding friendships that lift you up, encourage you, and also share in so many of the same things that you have interest in are so important to living a really elevated life. What's that saying? You are a combination of the 5 people closest to you. I think I've butchered that, but it's something along those lines. And it's such an important thing to always remind yourself to keep really great people around you. Maybe there's someone in your life that's pulling you down or making comments or making you feel slightly weird. Maybe you don't trust them, or maybe they continually do things that just really don't align with your moral compass. You only have one life. And I promise you, keeping people like that out of it is gonna do you the absolute world of good. And every time I look around at my friends, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel so lucky to have the kind of people that I have around me, from my husband to my best friend to my other friends. Like, I have such great people, and that is something that I have done consciously. Next up is stay out of drama and stay away from dramatic people. There will always be those people in life that talk about other people. They've always got some kind of drama going on with someone, whether it's their friends, their family, their boyfriend, their husband, whatever. And that is energetically draining, and you want to stay away from those people, and you certainly don't want to get involved in their drama. Sometimes it's not easy, and it really does take someone to take the high road. And one of my favorite sayings that I think it was my life coach, or maybe it was my dad, I can't remember, but it was like, Lydia, whatever you do, don't get muddy with the pigs. And I always remind myself of that. Don't let people drag your energy down. High energy people do not let their energy be dragged down by other people. And I feel like I talk from experience in this, because living my life on the internet, it makes a little bit of a spectacle of ourselves. And I'll never forget, I was watching Jeremy Lynch's stories once, and he did some really great stories about how it almost sometimes feels like you have a target on your back, and people will talk about you online and you can't respond to them, because if you do respond, then it sends up a red flag that everyone can make a video about you or talk about you, and you will then respond and elevate their content. But this extends into everyday life as well, not just on the internet. If you've got that friend that is always falling out with people, always having issues with people, whatever you do, don't let that person bring your energy down. Always be high level energy. Next up is cultivating your consumption. And I think this is so important. I do not watch horror movies. I don't even really like to watch action movies. I mean, I feel like James Bond is fine, but I'm not really, I cannot sit and watch a horror movie. That is not my idea of fun. Watching people suffer is not my idea of fun. And that goes for not just horror movies, it goes for the news, it goes for the internet. I don't consume content that upsets me. I can't do it. I've got one life and I cannot do it. If I can't control what is happening in those situations, then I cannot consume it. As a sensitive person, I harbor that so much and hold on to that, and it just drags my own world down. I only have one life, and I want to live it as positively and as happily happily as possible. So curating what I consume, from television to social media to the news, is really, really important. I now fill my world with everything that lifts me up, from the TV shows that I watch. Like at the moment I'm watching A Year in Provence with Carol Drinkwater. And no, I'm not 50 years old, but it's something that really, it gives me a bit of escapism, and it's wonderful and it's uplifting and it's just all of the cozy vibes. And that is what I want in my everyday life, and definitely try it. Even on your social media, I actually have an inspiration account on social media where I only follow accounts that inspire me and get my creative juices flowing. There's nobody else on there. It's not a public profile. It's just something that I have just for me, and I go on there to be inspired, and it's such a wonderful, happy, curated space. And once I'd done that, I wanted to do that in every element of my life. Next up is know when to take feedback. Oh my goodness, I feel like this is such a topic. Feedback is important, and knowing who to take it from is even more important, because we live in a world where feedback is everywhere at the moment. You can leave reviews places, you can leave comments places, you can email customer care, you can do whatever, this, that, and the other. Feedback is important as long as it's valuable to you, and knowing who to take feedback from is equally important. I generally keep my feedback sources very, very small, and I'm able to filter through the much wider feedback to take any nuggets of information that I really feel like could help. I'm constantly trawling my comments, sifting through and finding things where I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, that's brilliant. But the feedback on me as a person is something that I save just for my family and my friends. Those are the only people you should really be taking your feedback from. People that know you, people that understand you, people that care about you, and people that love you. Really, that's the only feedback that should really matter in your world, and it's the only feedback of value. You don't have to take feedback from Karen in America who thinks that your dress is ugly. That's not the kind of feedback that is going to enrich your world, and it's not the kind of feedback that is going to help you to move forward. It's not constructive, and it doesn't matter to you, because Carol from wherever doesn't live with you, so she doesn't need to see you in the dress. As long as you feel empowered in that dress, that's all that matters. And I know that my friends and family would be like, oh my God, Lydia, that is not a good dress on you. But just make sure that you're taking feedback from the right sources. If you are struggling with where to take feedback from, I really suggest sitting down, grabbing a pen and paper, and making a list of the people who matter to you, and whose opinions matter to you, and whose feedback matters to you. Because that is where you should keep your eyes focused and ensure that you're only taking your feedback from. And finally, oh my goodness, this is the biggest one for me. How you speak to yourself matters. And this one, it genuinely makes me want to cry. It moves me so much to think about the way that I used to speak to myself. And if I used to speak to myself like this, I know that so many of you are going to be doing the same. How you speak to yourself matters so much in elevating your life. Please, please be kind to yourself. When it was highlighted to me by my life coach how I spoke to myself, I was actually horrified. I remember explaining to her one day how I was out on a walk the other day, and all I could think was that, oh, you're so stupid, Lydia. Why are you worrying about this? Stop being so stupid and worrying about something that doesn't matter. And she was like, Lydia, like, why are you talking to yourself like that? Like, you are not stupid. Would you talk to your best friend like that? Would you talk to a child like that? No, you wouldn't. So don't ever speak to yourself like that. And if you ever acknowledge yourself speaking to yourself like that, stop. Stop now. You deserve kindness from yourself more than anything. We live in such a difficult world now. The last thing that you and your wonderful self needs is you being unkind to you too. So try to reframe your thoughts and always have at the forefront of your mind a reminder of who you are talking to. Imagine that you're speaking to someone that you love the most, like the one person that you love the most. Every time you're talking to yourself, I always imagine Porter's little face and like, would I talk to Porter like that? No, I wouldn't. I would never call him stupid, and I would never get frustrated with him in that way. So whenever I'm feeling like I'm being really unkind to myself, I imagine that I'm speaking to Porter, and it just completely flips how I speak to myself, and I'm so much kinder, calmer, and more patient with myself. And that has elevated my world and also my confidence in myself. You have no idea how much of a difference it makes when you are building yourself up instead of tearing yourself down in a world where we are torn down every single day. That is, like, if you just listen to one thing, make it this one, okay? Because the moment that you start being kinder to yourself, the moment your life will change. And those are my tips for elevating your life, and you can start implementing them today. I really want to put together a blog post on this as well, so that you can set it as your screensaver, or just have it as a little reminder that you read to yourself every morning. These changes are going to elevate your life, elevate the way that you feel, elevate the way that you think, and elevate the way that you live the rest of your life today. And it's made such an impact on mine, and I really, really hope that it makes an impact on yours. Let me know if you enjoyed this video and if you are looking forward to other videos like this. I can't wait to elevate my wardrobe with you. I can't. Please don't forget that the first 1,000 of you that signs up to Skillshare today using my link in the description box will benefit from 1 month free, so you can start learning, start exploring, and start improving your everyday life over there as well. So let me know if you do sign up, and let me know if you enjoy it. But other than that, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.